comes a new challenger.
Ready yourself. Time for a beatdown.
Round one. Fight. Round two. Fight. Terry wins! Round one. Fight!
Thank you!
Round two. Fight! Terry wins! Great match. Here comes a new challenger. Round one. Fight!
Siberian Express! Siberian Express!
Zongia wins! Round one. Fight! Zongia wins!
A new warrior has entered the ring!
Interesting.
Time for a beatdown!
Round one. Fight! Bison wins! Round one. Fight!
Thank you!
Final round. Fight!
ﷺ said, I want a prophet from this progeny, from this son, and that is indeed what Allah Azza wa Jal gave, and that was exactly the Prophet ﷺ said, that he said in an authentic hadith, أنا دعوة أبي إبراهيم. He said,
Here comes a new challenger.
I am the response of the dua. وأنا بشرى عيسى ابن مريم. And I am.
Let's get this mission started. One.
To this day, Jesus said, Jesus Christ.
Terry wins. Terry wins.
The Medina period lasted how many years? If we were to put all of the chronicles of those 53 years in a volume, and all of the chronicles of the Medinan years in a volume, the Medinan volume would be 3 times the size of the Meccan volume. Even though the time frame for Medina is 10 years and Mecca is 53. Why? Because
Here comes
when
a
Islam
new
is stable,
challenger.
that's when people can record and write and talk and remember. When Islam becomes powerful, that's when it is easier to record events and remember them. When followers become peaceful and stable, no wonder not that Bilal is being dragged in the streets of Medina and Muhammad is being tortured. I mean, they're not going to married to their children. Right? So, this is the this is So the chieftain. This is interesting because it also has relevance to modern times. We're told this is a was born on the 12th of began to
Terry wins.
700 years later, it's 5 times the size of Ibn Sa'd. And this book is full of, and it is said to me, and my sheikh said, and this and that. Where is it coming from? It's something that, as we said, a little bit legends and whatnot. So, what some of you might have heard, the Prophet was born, let's say, already circumcised. One report says. Another says he was struggling. 4-year-old kid is fighting an angel, the strongest angel Allah has created. Because what happens to any language, it gets influenced by. As you know, disease is. We had mentioned the birth of the Prophet ﷺ and the details that we know regarding that period of his life. We now move on to the period of his life that is his early childhood. That is him growing up as a young child. And the fact of the matter is that we have very, very little information with regards to these first 20, 30, even 40 years. And as I said in the last halaqah, that if we were to gather together the entire 53 years of Mecca, of the Prophet ﷺ, it would be less than half of the next 10 years that we have information of in Medina, right? And of these 53 years, of course, most of the information begins after the age of 40. So the first 40 years, the fact of the matter is we have limited number of incidents, very few. And I explained the reasons for this, and that is because who is going to record? And who is going to pass that down? And who lived long enough? And how numerous were the Sahaba? And how much persecution occurred, right? So a lot of these factors combine. But one thing we believe as Muslims, and this is what we take consolation in, is that anything that we need to know, Allah must have preserved. This is, of course, a theological point, right? We cannot prove it scientifically. Anything that we needed to know about our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we would believe that Allah Azza wa Jal had recorded that. So, the first thing that we know of his life after his birth is the fact that his mother gave him to be raised in the desert. Now, this is something that is strange for many of us. Why would a mother give her newborn to be raised away from the house? In fact, this was a custom of the elite of the Quraysh. It was a custom of the nobility of the Quraysh. And they did this for a number of reasons. So this was a status symbol, if you like. It was something that they did as being a part of this tribe. Why did they do it? A number of reasons. First and foremost, they wanted the child to be raised in a pure and healthy environment. They wanted the child to be raised in a pure and healthy environment. And as you know, the infant mortality during this phase of humanity, in fact, even up until 100 years ago, the infant mortality was extremely high. And so one of the ways they would protect the child is to actually take it away from congregations, from what we call civilization, such that there's only 2 or 3 people interacting with the child, i.e. one family, right? And as you know, disease is carried by people, by people congregating together. So when you remove the child from this environment, you in fact increase the chances of its survival. So for the mercy of the child and to increase the chance of the child living, then they would send him away from the city. Also, of course, so they wanted to remove the plagues and the disease of the desert, of the city. Also, they wanted to build stamina in the child. Stamina in the child and make them adjusted to a rough life. Now, even though from our standards, life in Mecca was unbelievably tough, right? But for the people of Makkah, they're used to it. And so they want to raise their child in an even more austere environment so that they then become accustomed to the hardships of Makkah. Because children adapt to their circumstances much easier than adults. And that is why a child who is born in a very impoverished scenario or situation, or in a very congregated or congested area, the child is content and happy, right? Just as happy as the child born in a rich and luxurious family. Allah has made us in a beautiful way. The child knows how to have fun regardless of the circumstance, right? Unlike an adult, now we're used to a standard. And if we were to, la qaddar Allah, be diminished in that standard, life would become almost impossible to bear. Even though many other people in the world would love the standard that we have been diminished to, let's say, right? So it is human nature that children adapt to their circumstance. And this shows us that the Quraysh had long-term planning. They had vision that the child is raised in a difficult environment such that the hardships of Makkah appear like luxury. The hardships of Makkah then appear like luxury. Another reason that some of the people have mentioned is that growing up in the desert away from the family will avoid the pampering that other relatives do. We all know that grandparents spoil the child, let's say, right? It's a rule of thumb. Grandparents spoil the child. In fact, some people say that's why Allah created grandparents. Parents are strict, grandparents are lenient. That's supposed to be the case. So not just grandparents, uncles, aunts, extended family, they all ruin. And of course, every parent knows that no matter how strict of the laws that you have for the children, when they go to their uncles, aunts, when they go to their grandparents, what happens? All those laws go out the window. So once again, to raise the child in a disciplined environment, right? They would be handed over to a particular family. And the final reason that the scholars of history mention for this rather strange custom from our perspective, but from them they were accustomed to it, the final reason that they mention is that the child being raised in the desert amongst certain tribes. Now realize, not every tribe would go into Mecca and ask for children. These are certain tribes that are known for this fact. These tribes were known for their fluency in Arabic. Now the Arabs viewed the language of the cities as being corrupted. The Arabs viewed the city language as being changed. Why? Because what happens to any language, it gets influenced by other cultures. Any language gets word loans from other cultures, right? So for example, if you read a modern Arabic newspaper in our times, 30 to 40% of the words are English, just Arabicized. And as for Pakistan, I would say 70% is English of the modern newspapers, right? That's my problem. I can't understand because I don't know. I think it's an Urdu word. It's actually an English word, right? Limited company edition. The whole thing is English. I'm trying to read. What is this? In Urdu, I don't understand. It's not, coming in my head. The point being, where does this occur? Not in the desert, not amongst the villagers, amongst the city dwellers, right? So the Arabs of the Quraysh, again, they're thinking long term. They don't want the traders from Yemen, from all over the country to come and corrupt their Qurayshi dialect. So what do? They send them to the pure areas, the tribes that were known for their fluency of the Arabic, to be uncorrupted, to be speaking the original ancient Arabic. And the most famous tribe that was known for this, the saving of, let's say, the pure Arabic, is the Banu Bakr ibn Sa'd, the Banu Sa'd ibn Bakr. The Banu Sa'd ibn Bakr. And of course, it was this tribe that adopted or that took care of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In one authentic hadith, the Prophet was asked, tell us about yourself. Tell us something about your childhood, about yourself. So the Prophet said, أنا دعوة أبي إبراهيم وبشرى أخي عيسى واسترضعت في بني سعد ibn Bakr. I am the da'wah of my father Ibrahim. Ibrahim made a dua. I am that dua manifested. You all know the dua. ربنا وبعث فيهم رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياتك ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة ويزكيهم. So Ibrahim made a dua when he's building the first house of worship. And as he's putting the stones in place and he's praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he makes a dua, oh Allah, send a mighty prophet from amongst my progeny who will recite to them your verse, purify them, and teach them the book and wisdom. So he said, أنا دعوة أبي إبراهيم. I am that da'wah. I am that dua responded. وأنا بشرى. And I am the glad news. Now, some people have interpreted this to mean the gospel, because what does gospel mean? It's good news. And the Christians, they misunderstood the whole point, according to one theory of Islam, that when Jesus is saying that, I'm coming to preach the gospel or the good news, well, the good news here is in fact, Bushra Akhi Isa. right? Because good news and gospel is the same in Greek. That's what it means. That the gospel is the good news. That's how they translated it. So some Muslim theologians, and seems to be a plausible theory, some Muslim theologians say that these references in the New Testament that I have to send the good news and I've come with the good news. This good news is not the gospel as they understood it. The good news is as Allah says in the Quran, and as the Prophet ﷺ says, that Rasul min ba'di ismuhu Ahmed. There's going to be a prophet after me. His name is Ahmed. So he's saying, Ana bushra Isa. Akhi Isa. I am the good news that my brother Isa predicted. And then he said, وَاسْتَرْضَعْتُ. And I was foster cared. Rada'a means to be foster cared. Foster care means to be suckled by another woman than your mother. So I was foster cared by the Bani Sa'ad ibn Bakr. And the Bani Sa'ad ibn Bakr was the most famous tribe known for taking care of the children of the Quraysh, known for speaking the proper Arabic. Now you all know the story of Halima. We're just going to summarize it briefly. Halima bint Sa'diyah, the famous foster mother of the Prophet ﷺ, she narrates the story in the first person. And it is recorded in a number of books of hadith and of seerah. And so, inshallah, it is an authentic hadith, no doubt about that, that she said that she and her husband were suffering greatly from poverty. And this was, of course, now why would they take care of a child? They wanted money, obviously. They are villagers, not even villagers, they are people living in the Bedouin. They are desert dwellers, right? And of course, as you know, desert dwellers, they don't get much income. Life is very tough. So one of the reasons why they would walk into Mecca and adopt children from the rich people of the Quraysh, this was a custom only for the rich and elite. It was not a custom for all of the people of Mecca. Only the noblemen, and as we know, Abdul Muttalib is the chieftain, so his children and grandchildren, they must have this custom. This is a custom for the noblemen and the elite. Of course, by the way, in our times, the rich, they have nannies. The rich, they have governesses, right? This is the custom of our times. In those days, this was the rich, they would send their children to the desert. So Halima narrates that we were suffering greatly from poverty. So she's explaining why would she want to take another baby? Because that baby gets money. The parents give money. And so I convinced my husband to go with the there was a yearly time that the women of Banu Sa'd ibn Bakr would go to Mecca and would obtain any newly born child who would be willing to be adopted, or not adopted, but foster fed for 2-3 years. So there was everybody knew this was the period.
Here comes a new challenger.
Find out who has given birth, and they're going to go knocking on their door, and the mother of the child will choose which of them seems to be the one that I like the most. Just like we do.
Come on, get ready. Time for a beat set.
The best one. Hadima says that she just take care of the other.
Rising tackle.
She had
You're mine.
6 books. So she had
All right.
So she
Round 2. Fight.
So she goes with the group.
All right.
You know, 10 sons and say that
Round 2. Fight.
blessings that came with the taking care of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, it was during the second phase of this foster care that the famous incident of Shaqq al-Sadr, of opening up of the heart, occurred. And this is an incident that we have no doubt about, because the Quran references, because there are authentic ahadith about it, because the Sahaba saw the line on the chest of the Prophet ﷺ that showed that it had been opened up. So this is clearly something that we believe in. When the Prophet ﷺ was 4 years old, Anas ibn Malik narrates, the hadith is in Sahih Muslim, so there's an authentic hadith, no question about it, that Jibreel came to the Prophet ﷺ when he was carrying the other children.
Here comes a new challenger.
Jibreel came, the other children ran away. They're scared. The Prophet ﷺ stood his ground. As a 4-year-old kid, he's displaying bravery. He stood his ground. What do you want from him?
Let us begin. Round 1. Fight.
This means
Hadouken! Hadouken!
forced him on the ground.
Round 2. Fight.
Every child that is
I missed.
Terry, win!
24/7. They know us better than our mothers and our spouses and our children because they're with us. What is the job of the Qareen? Just to whisper bad things. That's it. Now look at the hatred that Shaitan and his cohorts have for us. Alright, they spend their whole lives just trying to misguide us. Then why? Jealousy, hate, hatred, and anger.
Here comes a new challenger.
We should have been chosen. This jealousy and hatred assigns a Qareen to every one of us. We all have our Qareens. And the purpose of our Qareen is to whisper these words. So the Sahaba said, even I said that Allah against him, he's accepted Islam, and he
Thank you.
Terry, win!
He's pale.
All right.
Terry, win!
Is 4 years old. This incident was what concerned Halima. And she decided before anything else happens, let me quietly return the Prophet to Amina. Because she doesn't know what's happened. Strange things happen. She knows there's something about her.
Here comes a new challenger.
And she gets worried. And so she quietly returns the Prophet to Amina. And that was when he was returned to the care of his mother Amina. Of course, the spiritual benefits that we derive from this particular incident is that the Prophet is being prepared for a pure and clean life. The Prophet is being prepared to live the most respectable, the most dignified, the most pure life that man has ever known. And that is because it is the sunnah of Allah.
Let us begin.
All the prophets have the spiritual cleansing. It was physical. It was a spiritual cleansing. It was physical. It was is that this is a reference to the cleansing. The other and that is Allah is saying that from I.e. by guidance, because Islam is all justice. Islam is
We win! Round one.
And she prays to her sister. She says it's nobody would know. So he says this is Shema. And so he freed Shema and he gave her many, many presents. It appears that Halima and her husband were not in this present, or were not at this occasion when they were conquered. Later they came to visit. After this battle had occurred, they came to visit. And so Halima and her husband visited the Prophet ﷺ when he was in his late 50s. And when he saw Halima, he recognized her instantly, because this is, of course, Halima would not have changed that much. Shema, of course, is 6 years old. By the time he sees her again, this is, you cannot recognize. But Halima was an adult. So when he saw Halima, he stood up to greet her. This is his mother, his foster mahram. He stood up to greet her. He took off his own shawl, his own rida, and he placed it on the ground for her to sit on. And in some narrations, her husband was with her. In some narrations, it only mentions that Halima was there. And it is said in some of the books that she accepted Islam, and the Prophet ﷺ gifted her immensely, and they went their way. Nonetheless, getting back to the story where we are now, so shortly after the Prophet ﷺ was returned to Amina, we only have one incident that is recorded during this time. There's only one incident. I have looked as much as I could in all of the ancient and the classical works, and there's only one authentic incident that we know about. So subhanAllah, what else did Amina do, and what was her voice, and what was her tarbiyah? We don't know anything. There's only one thing that has been narrated that you all know, and that is that Amina decided to take her son